All right, welcome to the Buffalo Bred podcast, off-season edition and special edition. We have our friends of the pod, not friends of the Bills, AFC East around the league draft special. We do this every year. It's a tradition like no other. And we have our friends Brandon, Steve, and Jared representing the Patriots, Dolphins, and New York/New Jersey Jets, respectively. How are you doing, gentlemen? Would you like to give a quick primer on how excited you are to draft for your team here? Let's start with you, Brandon.
Very excited, as always. Thank you guys, your gracious hosts, for having me back behind enemy lines.
I'm thrilled. Yep. This feels like a very low stakes draft for the Jets, in all honesty. Like most of their teams in an audition year. But I'm very excited to be here chopping it up with some great people.
And I don't want to say it's make or break for the Miami Dolphins, but it's make or break for this year, I think. So we're going all in with this draft.
Very good. Yes, we appreciate having you guys back again, and I like to think of this as the hope pod. I know that for your three teams, things did not necessarily the season did not end in a hopeful place, and so it's our previous friends of the pod episodes were a little bit more catharsis and counseling. This is where we're in hope season again. Dan, why don't you take us into how this is going to work?
All right, guys, so here's how we're doing it this year. A little bit of a change up in format from previous years. I'm going to run the board as usual. As you can see on the screen ahead of you, we have selected the 4 AFC East teams that we'll be drafting for. As always, this is going to be a 3-round mock draft, so everyone's going to pick kind of their highest priority targets here. What we're going to change up a little bit from years past is rather than have you guys search through the board of available players, I'm actually going to give you 3 options based on team need and your previous draft picks in earlier rounds. You can choose to take one of those 3 options, or if you've got a draft crush that you just need to have at a particular point, you can opt for a 4th option, which is taking your said draft crush. At the end, we'll see how the board falls for everybody and who has the best mock draft that I am sure is exactly going to copy real life, because that's what all mock drafts are, totally accurate to real life. All right, you guys ready to go?
This one's for you, Mel Kiper.
Let's do it.
All right, gents, here we go. We are going to enter our draft, and we're going to get things going. So I've got the speed on this just a little bit slower so we can kind of see what unfolds for all of us here. All right, so as we can see here, we are now at the New England Patriots at pick number 4. We're using the PFF mock draft simulator. Oddly enough, there have been no QBs selected here at the top of this draft. This would be, Brandon, for you, an incredible board in real life if it fell this way, because I'm sure you'd have a lot of calls as the GM of the New England Patriots for people begging to trade up for Cam Ward. We are not doing trades for this particular draft, so I'm going to give you some options to choose from. So needs as listed on PFF, I actually tend to agree with for you, Brandon. You guys need a running back and you need a wide receiver. You just need skill position players to put around Drake May. And perhaps most importantly, you guys need to protect him. Last season, the New England Patriots had a pass rush block win rate of 50%, which was second worst in the league. You've got a young stud under center, and you want to keep him upright. So these are the options that I'm going to give you, Brandon. I'm going to give you Ashton Genty here, who is the top overall running back in this class, and maybe one of the top 3 or 4 players in this class. I'm going to give you Will Campbell, who is the T-Rex armed tackle out of LSU. And then I'm going ahead and going to give you another tackle to pick from here as well, Armand Membu from Missouri, who is still learning the ropes at right tackle, but is a violent man at the point of attack and really makes grown men look like children. So you've got a couple of tackle options here, and then you've got a much-needed skill position player for to help out on offense for Drake May. Brandon, where do you want to go?
Yeah, this to me is very, very easy. We have many years of seeing what type of offense Mike Vrabel likes to run, and that is a power rush first offense. And I think this is exactly an ideal scenario for the Patriots to take Ashton Jeanty as the 4th overall, if it works out that way. If it doesn't work out that way, I think it would have been Will Campbell. But this, to me, is a very clear choice. Ramondre is getting older. I think he is more of the pass-catching option. Ashton is somebody who has great speed, tackle breaking ability, second highest NCAA rush yards in a single season. Correct me if I'm wrong. So this is a extremely talented player who is going to be an all-star on this team moving forward. This is an ideal scenario. It's an easy answer. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and I hate this for the Buffalo Bills in particular that already struggle to defend against the run. They play a lot of light boxes intentionally so. This is a disaster. JJ, how much would you hate to see this happen in real life?
I mean, we've complained on the podcast for so many years about how terribly the Buffalo Bills defend the run. And all three of our, friends here's teams have made them pay at various times. So yeah, having the guy who's basically boasting and saying, it's tackle football still, get the guy who they can't tackle, coming to the Bills or coming against the Bills would be it'd be a pain for a long time.
Yeah,
I really think this is the most Derrick Henry-like draft prospect that the NFL has seen since Derrick Henry.
I literally have him on my draft board. My comp is a slightly slower Derrick Henry. Like Derrick Henry, people forget how fast he is. That dude's long speed can still get over 20 miles an hour. But yeah, Genty he's just a broken tackle machine. He's so hard to bring down. This would be a terrifying prospect for all involved. All right, Jared, we move on to the New York Jets. So the needs PFF has for you guys here are QB, wide receiver, tackle, and defensive interior. So I do think you guys need a second pass catcher, generally speaking. Tet McMillan went earlier in this mock for whatever reason, so he is off the board. And I think this is probably a little rich for a guy like Matthew Golden out of Texas. So I'm going to give you a couple of options. I'm going to put Armand Membu, tackle out of Missouri, back on the board. I'm going to give you Tyler Warren, the very stout tight end out of Penn State. And then I think you guys you need defensive interior help, but I think you also need a little bit of edge help as well. So I'm going to give you guys Mike Green. There is not other than Abdul Carter, there's not really a consensus next up as far as edge goes, but Mike Green seems to have all the tools if you can deal with his off the field issues. So what direction do you want to head here? Membu, Mike Green, or Tyler Warren?
So it's funny to hear Brandon talk about identity and Mike Vrabel's identity. The Jets have a defensive-minded coach, and what he knows about offense is two-headed running back attack with a heavy play-action game. I think, will it help to get a secondary receiving option in there? Yeah. I mean, Josh Reynolds is a trial acquisition. Garrett Wilson is still clearly the number one guy. But with so many people on audition years, I think that you use what I would describe as a not very sexy skill position draft to shore up your offensive and defensive lines. Now, you pitched to me Armand Membu. He was my number 2 offensive lineman behind Will Campbell, who's been drafted by artificial intelligence.
Yes.
So I am going to take you up on the pitch of Armand Membu. I think that is what the Jets desperately need on an offensive edge, specifically behind 2 great running backs, which they already have.
Excellent.
So,
love this. Love this for you guys. All right. I hate it for us, though. This would be the second year, too, that you guys draft a tackle in the first round. It would be a signal to me that you guys are trying to build the correct way, which is through the trenches. And
can I add something that I think is really important to that?
Yeah, definitely.
Let the record state that Shedeur Sanders was available.
And you
passed.
Yeah, and it spoke volumes that you chose not to pick him.
Yes.
Well, I think from our previous pod conversation, we all know how you feel about Shedeur Sanders, so I wasn't even going to put him up there as an option for you.
Yes, I appreciate that.
Yeah, not a problem. But if you want to go off on Shador, you're more than welcome to. All right,
He
so
sealed his own fate with his behavior the last couple weeks. He's done.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see if there is a Geno Smith-esque slide to his draft stock here. All right, so this brings us to our good friend Steve and the Miami Dolphins. You guys, Steve, you have a lot of secondary needs. You've got some defensive needs, but again, it's all about protecting Tua, who is going to be your checks notes $50 million a year QB as well. So I'm going to give you a couple of options here. I'm going to give you 2 cornerbacks to select from, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give you an offensive lineman and see what direction you want to go. Because you guys are shopping Jalen Ramsey. For whatever reason, this defensive coaching staff seems to have a lot of confidence that Cam Smith is going to come around. Nonetheless, you need some depth at CB, both at the nickel position, safety, and also this opposite Jalen Ramsey on the outside, should you guys choose to hang on to him. So I'm going to give you a couple of options here. I'm going to give you Jahdae Barron, who is like this year's Brian Branch, kind of like a slash type of player. Don't always want him necessarily on the outside, isolated on his own, but he can play a lot of nickel. He can play a lot of slot. He's game in the run defense game, and he can flash in a lot of dime package looks as well. Just a really fun chess piece for Anthony Weaver to play with. I'm also going to give you Will Johnson, who not the fastest CB in this draft, but his change of direction and awareness and ability to jump routes is really preternatural. I mean, this dude is a turnover waiting to happen. And then I'm going to give you Josh Simmons, highly vaunted offensive tackle out of Ohio State. You guys also seem to have a lot of confidence in the Patrick Paul draft pick that you made last year, the kid out of Houston, but you need offensive line help up and down the board. So 2 cornerbacks, sir, and an offensive tackle. Which way you want to go?
Conventional wisdom always tells me, and I shared this in the previous podcast, got to build the line, got to win the line. It's all about the trenches. But with losing Javon Holland, them shopping Jalen Ramsey at this point, it really narrows my choice down to 2. And the more I read about him, I really like Will Johnson.
Nice.
Like you said, he may not be the fastest guy, but I don't know. There's something that tells me that he's going to be exceptional at the next level. So that's who I'm going to go with.
Dude is bringing a chip on his shoulder too, coming from a really well-coached defense in Michigan. I think that's a rock-solid pick for you guys and a building block and a really fun piece to see in Weaver's defense for sure.
Yeah, the Dolphins with Will Johnson means that the Buffalo Bills are going to continue to have to throw to the running backs.
Absolutely.
Because their wide receiver talent's not going to be better than that guy.
Unbelievable. So, JJ, the Bills are now on the clock, and man, this board fell horribly.
So Kenneth Grant goes 19.
Yep. Jahdae Barron goes 17.
Yep. Scroll up a little more.
Yep. Donovan
Izaraku. Yeah, gone.
Goes 15. So
okay.
a lot of our draft crushes gone at this point. Trey Amos goes 24 to the Minnesota Vikings. Oh man, this is a bloodbath. Matthew Golden gone at 27 to the Ravens. That's ridiculous. And then Michael Williams, edge out of Georgia, goes to Washington in the pick before us.
The Oregon defensive tackle should still be on the board, right? No.
Let's see. You are talking about, Derek Harmon, correct? Mm-hmm. I'm going to put Harmon on the board.
Okay, thank you.
Low key.
I know I'm feeding him. I'm going to shut up now.
Dude, Derek Harmon, I actually think is the guy the Bills want. He's not that. A lot of Bills fans are clamoring for Kenneth Grant, get a traditional big-bodied one-tech to play near Ed Oliver, but the Buffalo Bills, in true obvious pass situations, they value pocket compression, they value quick get-off, and they value pressure up the middle. Derek Harmon brings all of that and then some. And the fact that he'd be on the board here would be excellent for the Bills. I'm also going to give you, let's see here. Who else do I want to give you, man? I'm going to give you Benjamin Morrison, cornerback on a Notre Dame, battling some injury issues, but he really seems to be the prototypical size, arm length, athletic profile, intellectual profile, Really plays well in zone schemes, has some pliability in man, but really just Benjamin Morrison, if healthy, is the perfect Buffalo Bills cornerback. And then I'm also going to throw in, let's get spicy. I'm going to throw in Landon Jackson, edge out of Arkansas. So if the board fell this way, honestly, I'd be really happy as a Bills fan. I'd be happy with any of these guys. Xavier Watts, safety out of Notre Dame, is still available here, though it feels a little high for him at that point. Jack Beck, wide receiver out of TCU, I'm not a huge fan of. I think he's a little bit slow. We've got enough guys that kind of plod down the field. I feel good about this, man. It's Harmon, it is Morrison, and it is Jackson. Interesting note here, Maxwell Harrison out of Kentucky, who has been mocked to the Bills in the first round, is on the board, as is Siobhan Ravel. I just don't think the Bills are interested in someone with the physical profile of Harrison despite the speed, because I think they'll have concerns about him holding up in the run defense game. And then Siobhan Ravel, this feels a little bit high for him, especially with a guy like Derek Harmon on the board, in line being an obvious need.
Yeah, and that's all good discussion. I think that of the three options, I'm going to take Derek Harmon. Big and athletic is much more rare than small and athletic. And in the case of those cornerbacks, I think that there's round 2 and 3 options that they could probably have compete with Trey White for starting. So Derek Harmon, I'm happy about it.
Totally agree with you. All right, we are back on the clock here in round 2 with our good friend Brandon. All right, Brandon, got some interesting things you could do here. So this particular draft has a lot of starters that are going to be available later on in the draft. And we are now here technically in round 2, which would be day 2 of the draft. We've got some pretty handsome options for you, my friend. All right, so you've given a skill position player to your new favorite dude, Drake May. I'm going to put another skill position player up here along with a couple of offensive linemen. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to put Jack Beck, wide receiver out of TCU, up here. Catching machine, excellent route runner, not big on long speed, but he seems to be one of those like cliched wide quarterback's best friends types. I'm also going to give you Donovan Jackson, the tackle out of Ohio State. Big mauler type dude. Ohio State just breeds amazing offensive linemen. Would be a great addition for you guys. And then I'm going to give you maybe one of the better guards, though a bit of a projection, in Tyler Booker, guard out of Alabama here. So you've got 2 offensive linemen, and you've got a fun weapon potentially for Drake May. You are basking in the glow of your riches in your early second round selection. Where do you want to go, Brandon?
So I think the Patriots this season are a team that needs to score points. They've been among the bottom in a very embarrassing format in points scored and offensive production. So I think we got to go offense here. I think Stephon Diggs is not what he used to be. And so let's get a young star out there to help him out, take some attention from the defenses. So I think we take the best wide receiver available in this scenario. You said Jack Beck. A guy I had my eye on was Kyle Williams. Is he on the board, or did he get picked up?
Let's see. Kyle Williams. Let's see what we got. Kyle Williams is available here.
Okay, so the pick is going to be Kyle Williams. This is a guy with 4.4 speed, great breaking ability. So I think this is the weapon that is going to be the complement to Stephon Diggs. That's why this is the pick for me. It is because of the relationship between these two receivers and the differences, their strengths and weaknesses. So I think for me, it's Kyle Williams in the second round.
Very fun. I like that one. All right, and the Jets are now back on the clock. All right, let's see what we can do for you guys. So you went Membu in the first round. So you still have defensive line, which is an issue for you guys here, Jared. And then sneakily, you guys have some secondary needs that I think you need to attend to as well, despite some of your signings. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give you a couple of options here. Benjamin Morrison, CB out of Notre Dame, still on the board. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to give you him. I'm also going to float your way. Who am I looking for? TJ Sanders, interior defensive lineman out of South Carolina. This is somebody Bills fans are very familiar with. This is kind of a guy we're all pining after to hit in the second round. And then let's give you, I want to give you a wide receiver here. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to give you Trey Harris, wide receiver out of Mississippi. Shifty type of guy, more of a kind of a slot projection, but honestly could be a very fun weapon for your new QB Justin Fields to use. So out of those three, who would you like, or would you like to veer for option number 4 if you've got a particular guy you want?
So I want to refer back to a previous conversation that we had where we talked about how many defensive players had the opportunity to potentially be mentored by Aaron Glenn.
Mhm.
When I see the opportunity, and again, you never know if a mock draft comes true, but when I see an opportunity to add tremendous value, which is, in my opinion, Benjamin Morrison from Notre Dame, and he's available, projected first rounder that's available right now. And as we know, you've lost everyone but Sauce Gardner, and everyone in the secondary, including Sauce Gardner, is basically auditioning this season. I think that this is one of those potential picks with him available that you kind of sit in your war room and you go, I think we have to do this because
Nice.
he's available.
I would hate that for you guys.
This-
I mean, and
For
by hate,
us
I mean
guys.
love.
Yeah, it would
Yeah.
be so good for you guys. Yeah.
Well,
So
and I think
good.
this is the thing, and I guess it brings me back to other obvious problems the Jets have. They need additional wide receivers. They need additional help on both sides of the line. But I have always felt like, it's even how I aired as a coach. If there's someone that's just strikingly talented and available, you go with that. So I thank you for giving me the option to pick him because he was the highest ranked player available and he was jumping off the screen at me.
So, funny aside, that's got a Bills thread with Benjamin Morrison, former Bills, maybe even Jets, also player Lorenzo Alexander, who converted from defensive line to linebacker in the league and played 12 seasons, I think. He's like a mentor and close family friend of Ben Morrison, and has talked about how any team that passes on him because of the injury concern is missing out on a perennial Pro Bowler. So
Can I give you a very funny hypothetical of that? If he
Oh, yeah.
loses a step and the Jets plug him in at safety, then they address their biggest need.
yeah,
I'm not saying that's going to happen and he doesn't fully have the size to do it, but it's a potential, win-win scenario.
his
He's got
instincts,
that
his ball
flexibility.
instincts are amazing. Yeah.
Yes.
I hate this pick. I think this is terrible for everyone that's not a Jets fan. All right, you guys are killing it so far. I am sweating a little bit at the potential that this could happen. Miami Dolphins. Steve, you are back on the clock, sir. You went Will Johnson with your first pick, so I'm going to give you a couple of juicy options here. I'm going to give you Tyler Booker, guard from Alabama, who is still on the board. I'm also going to go ahead and give you... I'm going to give you a fun safety option here, too, because you guys are trying to replace Javon Holland. I'm going to give you Nick Emenworry, who is still on the board here. This is a guy who I think a lot of fans are enamored with because of the athletic profile that he brings. 4.3 speed, really kind of like a Kyle Hamilton type of safety, which Anthony Weaver, coming from the Baltimore system, very familiar with a player of that mindset. And then I'm going to go ahead and add as your third pick TJ Sanders, because you guys do need some help on that defensive line.
I was going to wait until the third round to draft an offensive lineman, but with Tyler Booker still being right there, I think similar to Jared's pick, I would be silly not to take him in the second round with this pick. So I'm just going to, that's who I'm taking. So
Tyler Booker. I like it. Given to a little bit of help. And when you look at where the defensive line strengths of the AFC East are, a lot of your competition New England signing Milton Williams, Buffalo having, of course, Ed Oliver, Quinnen Williams in New York. Like, keeping the interior pocket clean for Tua, because he needs a clean platform and clean pocket to throw from, is going to be essential. And Booker, I think, is going to go a long way to help that out. Very solid, unsexy, stabilizing pick for you.
Yep. 6'5", 325 does a good number on Ed Oliver's 280 playing weight. Just if you're looking for a barrier.
Oh, I sure wish Kenneth Grant was back on the board, but I'll take Derek Harmon. So JJ, our first pick here was Derek Harmon. We've got a couple of second round picks here coming up. As Bills fans know, we've got 56, 62, and no third round picks this year. So with Derek Harmon off the board, I think we still have a couple of needs, sir. Cornerback definitely being one of them. I'd love to see the Bills splash with a safety position. So I'm going to give you a couple of options here. Let's go with Andrew Makuba, who is my comp for him is Micah Hyde. PFF obviously thinks very highly of this particular dude. They have him ranked 62. I've seen him mocked as high as early second round. I think he's got great instincts and coverage, and I think he can really play that deep safety center fielder position that'll let Cole Bishop and Taylor Rapp push up to the line where I think they are far more comfortable. I'm also going to give you Darian Porter, CB out of Iowa State. This dude's got the athletic profile that the Bills often pass on. They're a little Kyer Elam gun shy these days, but this is a dude who's fast, big, strong, all the things that you want. A little bit of a project and a projection in zone, but he's got some of those man skills that we've been begging the Buffalo Bills to invest in. And then let's go with, this is where I want to go. I'm going to give you another cornerback here. Ezra Thomas, the CB out of Florida State. This is a guy that is very polarizing for a lot of draft commentators. He flashes with all the skill that is necessary to be capable as a cornerback, but he really does feel like more of a projection because of how raw he is. So, which direction do you want to go, JJ?
Oh, man. So I don't love that you didn't put Jalen Royals on my board, and I won't break the system, but I know that's a fourth option, right?
There is a fourth option. If we take a wide receiver second round,
I know
something is wrong, man.
It'd be a fastball move, though. He's one of my favorite players in the whole draft. I'm not going to do it, though, because you're right. The need is much, much better. So in this situation, Darian Porter, 6'4", 200 pounds. He's a former track athlete, and the speed actually does translate to the field. Andrew Makuba, the concern I have with him is he's excellent at triggering his gun and firing downhill to try to help with the run, but he's a drag down tackler because he's not huge. He's 180, 190 pounds, and his athleticism is excellent, but he is, just like with Micah Hyde, Micah Hyde was never the safety when the Bills were at their peak to lay the lumber on somebody and come down and fill and like decleat somebody. And with Ashton Genty now in the division,
damn it, Brandon,
we need somebody who can do a little bit more dirt. And so I'm going to take Darian Porter. I'm going to take Darian Porter because I believe he's a converted wide receiver too.
Yes.
So he's young in the position. The Bills have shown they're excellent at developing defensive backs. So that's my guy. And Jalen Royals is still available.
He's still around.
But we might need an edge if there's one available, if a good one's available.
Yeah, so let's talk that. I'll throw in Jalen Royals here. We're at pick 62 for the Bills. I'll throw in Jalen Royals here. And then I'm also going to give you, let's see, Alfred Collins is still sitting there. I'm going to give you Femi Oladejo, a guy who I know you really like at the edge position coming out of UCLA. And then, let's put let's put two wide receivers out here, shall we? Because we've taken care of interior defensive line, cornerback. I'm going to give you two wideouts. I'm going to give you Jalen Noel out of Iowa State. I'm going to give you Royals, your dude. And then I'm going to give you Femi Oladejo out of UCLA. So two offensive players and an edge player here for you, sir. What do you want to do with the Bills' final pick in this mock draft?
Jalen Knowles, the other one you're putting out there.
Correct.
Jalen Royals, Jalen Knowles. I love that player too.
I know. I know.
But
This is a terrible choice for you.
So what I'm gonna do is the Buffalo Bills scored 30 rushing and 30 receiving touchdowns last year. They set a franchise record for scoring with the players they had, and all that they've lost in the offseason is
rub it in. That's fine.
Yeah,
Matt Collins.
They've lost Matt Collins. I'll miss Matt Collins. He had the most touchdowns of the whole wide receiver room. But I think that they kind of upgraded a little bit with Joshua Palmer in that regard, as a little bit better of a route runner, a little bit better of a field stretcher. So with all that said, I am going to go ahead and take Femi Oladejo.
Look at you.
I'm going to do the right thing, build from the trenches. He's got an amazing, starting gun and get off. And that's what the Bills don't have in their edge room right now, is a fast edge.
Just so you're aware, the very next pick was the Kansas City Chiefs, so they took Jalen Royals.
Just hurts so
in this
bad.
mock. It's so bad. Twisting the knife. Oh, God, we hate Kansas City. All right, so the Bills will end their draft there, and we are now in the third round, back on the clock here for the New England Patriots. So far, nothing but studs for you, Brandon. You have taken Ashton Genty and Kyle Williams. A running back and wide receiver respectively. You have 2 picks here coming up in the third round. We're at 69, and then you also have pick 77. God, that is such an embarrassment of riches for you guys. All right, so let's see here. You guys, I mean, you have some serious offensive line needs. And sneakily, you also probably still need some depth on the defensive line as well. What do I want to do for you? Man, oh man. Let's see. I'm going to sort here by tackles real quick. Because
let me just say real quick, if Femi was still on the board for this pick, I would have taken him. So
yeah, I think I'm going to take that. I'm going to give you an edge. So there are still some guys available here. Charles Grant actually is a guy I really like out of William and Mary, but I think this might be a little bit rich here. I think if this were to happen in real life, Brandon, you're probably waiting to take a tackle. Marcus Bowe from Purdue is another good one that I really like. Jonah, I always butcher this guy's name. Sava and Nea from Arizona also would be a solid projection for you guys as well. I'm going to not give you a tackle, though, because where you're picking at 69, you've got some other really fun options. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give you... Let's see. I'm going to give you Josiah Stewart, edge out of Michigan. I'm going to give you Shamar Turner, interior defensive lineman out of Texas A&M. And I'm going to go ahead and see if you just want to shower Drake May with more weapons. I'm going to give you Jalen Noel, wide receiver out of Iowa State.
So, yeah, this is an interesting place to be. Thank you for the reminder 2 minutes ago that we got Matt Collins this year. So
you're welcome.
Of course. So with my first and second round picks, Matt Collins, the Patriots under new leadership added some beef to the offensive line. I don't think all of the problems there are solved. So yeah, I would take the best player on the board, whichever was the top option that you presented there.
Let's see. So that would be Josiah Stewart, edge out of Michigan is what I gave you.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, you guys need some pass rush help too. And I think that's a very responsible pick out of you. Who do you want? Just tell me, Jared, who do you want?
Well, I want to kill the artificial intelligence Jacksonville Jaguars.
Because, wait, why? Oh, because they took Jalen Noel. Yeah. Dude, Mason Taylor would have been a super fit for you guys too, the tight end out of LSU.
I know, but this is my thing, and I want to refresh the memories of any longtime listeners. I went on a crusade the last time you and I talked, Dan, and I, was just like, don't waste an early pick on a wide receiver. You're going to steal somebody in the third round because there aren't a lot of sexy wide receivers in this draft. This will be my question because I was specifically looking out for Jalen Noel. Is his teammate on the board still, Jaden Higgins?
Let's see. Oh, good question. Nope. It
No, he's
looks
not. Wow.
Higgins is off the board. However, Isaiah Bond from Texas is sitting there. Tez Johnson from Oregon is sitting there. And Savion Williams from TCU are sitting there.
Of those three, I'm dead set on a wide receiver.
Okay.
And I want to play by your rules. So I will allow the fact that artificial intelligence has now outdrafted me twice in the same night.
You can take Xavier Restrepo if you want to. I highly encourage you to take the dude who ran like a 4.8 at his pro day.
Well, so, I like Isaiah Bond.
I like that dude too.
But I'm going to tell you why. And it again is going to draw some Lions parallels. He's only an inch shorter than Jameson Williams and is a very, very similar build. I was into Jalen Noel because Jalen Noel also has that build. And when I think about what does Aaron Glenn know? What do the Jets need? Give me just a bonkers speed threat to counter the fact that Garrett Wilson is going to probably be targeted 20 times a game. So, given the fact that my original one is off the board, I am totally fine. I was going to say Big 12 speed, but with modern corruption, that's SEC speed now, guys. Give me Isaiah Bond.
Yeah. Oh God, I hate that. I hate how well you drafted. I despise it a lot.
I got several nudges by the computer, so it's really
just crazy. Just
really
crazy.
all it is.
Oh my God. We'll review everybody's draft when we're done here. So Brandon, it looks like we move on to you. And then Steve, do you have another pick here? No, you do not. All right. So Brandon, it looks like we're going to wrap up with you here in round 3. So for the sake of jogging our memories here, you have not taken anybody at this point to protect Drake May, but you've given him some fun weapons, and you've given your defense a very versatile edge player with a nice get off in Josiah Stewart. So let's see here, sir. You need an offensive lineman so badly. All right, so this is where we're getting to the range where a Marcus Bow from Purdue would be an option for you guys. I'm going to throw him on the board. I'm going to give you Jonah Sevenea out of Arizona as well. And then let's see here. Oh, this is, yeah. I know you just took Josiah Stewart, but I am going to give you guys potentially someone that the Buffalo Bills really covet. Jordan Phillips, interior defensive lineman out of Maryland. You guys still need to build your depth in the defensive trenches as well. It's a sneaky need for you guys. So I'm going to go that route for y'all. So out of those 3 options, Jordan Phillips, kid out of Arizona, or Bow, kid out of Purdue, which direction do you want to go?
So the Patriots, I think this might be a redundant statement, but they need to keep their offense on the field. They need to achieve the short yardage. They need to convert on 3rd and 4th downs. So I think the answer here is offensive line. So let's go Mabau out of Purdue.
Beautiful. All right. And then, kid out of Arizona went right after that. And we are wrapping up here.
I think I have picked
always
98.
curious. What'd you say?
I think I have picked 98.
You are correct, sir.
Yeah.
You've got a comp pick that I wasn't counting on. So you are next right here. The Miami Dolphins. All right. So, Steve, let's recap your draft real quick. Will Johnson, Tyler Booker, just rock solid picks for you. So you've addressed guard. You've addressed cornerback. You've got Wyatt Millam out of West Virginia, who is the best player on the board. You've got Charles Grant, offensive tackle out of William & Mary, a kid who I really sneaky like. And you know what? Just to spice things up a little bit, because you guys really do need some help here on the defensive side of things. I'm going to give you, who's one of my favorites that's left on the board here? I'm going to give you Savion Jones, edge out of LSU, a kid who I think would be perfect in this spot for you guys. So you've got the 2 best tackles left on the board and then an edge player.
Yeah.
Or you could go with the 4th option.
Who are the tackles that were still available?
Let's see. I'll sort by tackles, but I
Yeah.
gave you Millam out of West Virginia. I gave you
Or, I'm
Grant.
sorry, defensive.
Oh, you want to go
Uh,
deep interior defensive?
Interior, yeah.
Let's see. Ty Robinson's available out of Nebraska. Oh, Josh Farmer.
Josh Farmer's
Dude,
the
Josh
pick there.
Farmer. Oh, that sucks.
He won't be there. I don't think he'll be there in real,
I don't think
in
he'll
real
be
life. Yeah.
In real life, no way. Josh Farmer will not be there. Or Deion Walker, another guy that Buffalo Bills fans are very familiar with. This is this year's Tavondre Sweat. He is big. He moves with a really unnatural sense of speed and urgency. He's just a little weak in his lower half from a lot of scouting reports. And when you watch his film, he's a little bit upright at the point of attack as well. But if he can get his pad level right, this dude's a handful. Got some fun options here.
I'd advise against Deion Walker. I'm out on him.
You're out on him?
I think he's never going to learn how to get his pad level low. He gets pushed on the ground too often.
Oh man. All right, yeah. We're gonna talk about him in our follow-up pod. I really like this guy. All right,
so based on where everything's at now with this mock draft, I think Charles Grant out of William and Mary is going to be the pick.
Yeah, I like that dude.
There were a couple other guys available in the defensive end or defensive interior. I would have went that route, but Charles Grant's my guy.
Yes.
Teron Armstead replacement.
Yeah, he's rock solid, man. 6'4", 300. He's a little bit older, but he kind of came into his game a little bit later in his career. This is one of those picks, like a Wyatt Teller pick that Buffalo Bills fans will be familiar with. Just like a mid to late rounder that's really going to make a lot of hay for you guys. Man, oh man, that was something. You guys did so flippin' well with that. All right. So let's see. I want to pull up the team by team recap here real quick. All right, your results. Let's see here. Hang on. Oh, that was brutal for me to have to go through. You guys did so good. All right. Is this thing going to give me a recap just by the team or no?
No, if you go up to full results, you're gonna be able to scroll it.
All right, full results. All right, so the New England Patriots, round 1, Ashton Genty. Armand Membu goes to the Jets. Will Johnson to the Dolphins. And then we get our guy JJ and Derek Harmon. Honestly, wins all the way around.
Yep.
Fellas, how did you feel about your first round there? Brandon, let's start with you.
I'm extremely satisfied. I think this is a best case scenario. This completely went my way. I'll see you in the Super Bowl.
That's amazing.
Thanks.
That's amazing.
Thanks for having me.
Jared Membu, I mean, he's one of my favorite players in this draft. And I hate that you got him. How do you feel about this?
Yeah. I want to add, because I do think this is important for this year. There's really only one player in this draft who I think could prompt other teams to pick differently to have to deal with the fact that he was picked, and that's Jainty. So if he does end up in the AFC, or specifically the AFC East now, like that's problematic. But I like this went according to plan for me. Got the best offensive tackle available in round 1.
Nice.
Feeling good about it.
I do think Genty to the Patriots is a real possibility. I just think Vrabel, to Brandon's earlier point, wants to build that run game. Will Johnson, to the cornerback out of Michigan, to the Miami Dolphins. This has been mocked fairly frequently as well, Steve. So this feels like something that's a very real possibility, particularly if Johnson falls out of favor in the top 10. How do you feel about rebuilding your cornerback unit with this dude?
We're rebuilding the line. We're both defensive and offensive. Why not throw the secondary in there? We've tried a few veterans over the past few years, with free agency signings and, the Eli Apples, the Jordan Poyers, serviceable, but, I think it's time to move on and we need to build in the draft. So I'm happy with it.
Yeah, let a cornerback grow up with Anthony Weaver in his system. You guys finally got it right with that selection for your DC. Hopefully you can hang on to him for a couple years. It's fun to watch him call games. And then JJ, we get our guy, Derek Harmon. I feel great about this.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if it's Kenneth Grant or Derek Harmon, either of those I'm good there. If it's Will Johnson, the CB, like there's a lot of players that I'd be very, very happy with in the first round, and we got one of them, probably one of my top 3.
Absolutely. And then just to quickly recap, Kyle Williams comes off the board here at 38, wide receiver out of Washington State to the New England Patriots. Benjamin Morrison, sneaky awesome pick again for the Jets. Damn you, Jared. Man, I'm glad you're not the GM of that team. And then
I don't know. I mean, that's a great compliment.
That
will only feed further disillusionment on my part.
Love it. And then Steve doing the necessary dirty work to protect Tua up the middle with Tyler Booker. Just a sneaky good pick there. JJ, I love the Darian Porter pick. And then we get our edge as well. I honestly, 3 defensive picks right away. I feel like if the board fell this way for the Bills, I'd be very happy through the first 2 days.
Yeah, and I think that Darian Porter's like there's a lot of boom bust there because he has the athletic profile. He's not a long starter at CB, so there's a lot of chance that he could, not pan out. But I do like both picks as well as Femi. I mean, Femi Oladejo as a stand-up linebacker all the way up through the first 2 games of this past season. It's a projection, but I like both picks.
Nice. And then we hit into the 3rd round here, New England, taking Josiah Stewart, edge out of Michigan. God, Isaiah Bond. God, Jared, what the hell? What the hell? This draft was too good. This can't be a Jets draft, man. You really knocked that one out of the park. And then we go back to New England for Marcus Mbao out of Purdue. And then we wrap things up with our Miami Dolphins doing the dirty work again. Charles Grant. So now you've got Grant, Patrick Paul, Booker, and Eichenberg to rebuild your offensive line around. Solid work out of the Miami Dolphins. Man, that was sweaty. I gotta believe that if the board fell that way for everybody, we would all be thrilled with how our drafts worked. Am I right?
Agreed.
And that's the beauty of this year's draft in my mind, is that there are a few generational guys right at the top of this thing, but you're going to find depth in starting caliber players through multiple days in this draft. I think it's going to be something to behold, and I think everyone's got a chance in the AFC East to get better in a really good way. And I'm always rooting for competitive football. So excellent. Guys, thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate it. For all you listening at home, like, share, and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, YouTube, Apple, and Spotify. And as always, go Bills.
Go Bills, and you guys can go whatever your teams are if you want.
You go Patriots. Go Patriots.
Go Mets.
Fins up, baby. Fins up.
All right.
After the greatest mock draft in history, let's go Mets.
Yeah.
Amazing. The humility is
like
great. Thanks, everybody.